The security guard's walkie-talkie crackled at exactly 9:47 p.m., 3 minutes before I was scheduled to cut my wedding cake. I know the precise time because I was staring at my phone when it happened, reviewing the timeline my wedding planner had drilled into me for weeks. What I didn't know was that in those 3 minutes, my entire marriage would begin unraveling before it had even made it through the reception. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. We have an unauthorized guest at the north entrance, the voice said through static. Female, approximately 5'7", wearing a white gown. She's insisting she's on the list. I was standing near the dessert table, hidden behind an elaborate display of French macarons, close enough to the security station to overhear, close enough to feel my stomach drop before I even understood why. Marcus's ex-wife was supposedly in Milan. That's what he'd told me when I'd asked. Casually, nervously, if there was any chance she might cause problems. Vanessa moved to Europe 2 years ago, he'd said, kissing my forehead. She has a whole new life. Trust me, she couldn't care less about us. The security guard spoke again. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to wait here while I verify. Verify with whom? The voice that cut through the radio was crisp, confident, amused. I have an invitation. A personal one. I moved before I could think, abandoning my post by the desserts, weaving through clusters of guests in their formal wear. My dress, an ivory silk column gown with delicate lace sleeves, whispered against the floor as I walked faster. I'd specifically chosen something elegant but understated. Something that wouldn't draw too much attention. Something that said second wedding for him, first for me. Let's keep it classy. The irony wasn't lost on me now. The north entrance was tucked away from the main ballroom, accessible only through a service corridor that the venue used for catering deliveries. It was where we'd arranged for late arrivals to enter discreetly without disrupting the festivities. I'd insisted on having security there specifically to prevent unwanted surprises. Apparently, I hadn't been specific enough about what constituted unwanted. I rounded the corner and stopped dead. She stood in the dimly lit corridor, flanked by 2 security guards who looked profoundly uncomfortable, and she was wearing my dress, not my wedding dress. I was wearing that. But my other dress, the one I'd commissioned as a backup, the one I'd ultimately decided was too much, too dramatic, too attention-seeking for a woman marrying a man who'd already done the big white wedding once before. The Vera Wang with the hand-beaded bodice and cathedral train that had cost more than my first car. The dress currently hanging in a preservation box in my apartment, waiting to be donated to a charity auction next month. Or so I'd thought. Vanessa turned, and her face lit up with recognition. We'd never met in person, but I'd seen enough photos. Marcus kept a few scattered around his house, tasteful black and white shots from his first wedding, always with the explanation that they were really about the location or the moment, not about her. Looking at her now, I understood why he'd kept them. She was striking in a way that made you forget to breathe. Dark hair cascading over bare shoulders, the kind of bone structure that suggested aristocratic ancestors, and eyes that held the particular gleam of someone who knew exactly what chaos they were creating. You must be Claire, she said warmly, as if we were meeting for coffee. I'm so sorry I'm late. Traffic from the city was absolutely nightmarish. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. One of the security guards, a younger man I'd personally hired for the evening, looked at me desperately. Mrs. Hartwell, Ms. Chen, it's Mrs. Hartwell now, Vanessa supplied helpfully. Or, well, it was. For 12 years. Force of habit. She extended her hand to me, bracelets jangling. You look absolutely beautiful, Claire. That dress is stunning. Though between us, I always thought the lace sleeves were a bit conservative for someone your age. You're what, 32? You could pull off something more daring. I stared at her outstretched hand, my mind cataloging details with the strange clarity that comes with shock. Her nails were painted the exact shade of champagne pink I'd chosen for my bridesmaids. The bracelet on her wrist was a Cartier Love bracelet, white gold, identical to the one Marcus had given me for our 6-month anniversary. And the dress, that impossible dress, fit her perfectly, which meant she hadn't just found it. She'd had it altered. She'd had my rejected wedding dress tailored to her body. "How did you get that dress?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. Vanessa's smile didn't waver. "It's incredible what you can find when you know where to look. Though I have to say the atelier was very confused when I came to pick it up. Apparently there was some mix-up with the order numbers." She smoothed the beaded bodice with one hand. "But we sorted it out. They were so accommodating once I explained I was family." The security guard's radio crackled again. "North entrance, we need an update. The bride is missing from the reception. Tell them I'm handling a personal matter," I said quietly, not taking my eyes off Vanessa. "And call David from the venue management, now." As the guard spoke into his radio, I took a step closer to Vanessa. We were nearly the same height, though she had the advantage of 4-inch heels that brought her eye to eye with me. This close, I could smell her perfume. Chanel No. 5, the same perfume Marcus had told me he couldn't stand because it reminded him of his failed marriage. "You weren't invited," I said simply. Actually, Vanessa reached into a small clutch purse, producing a thick cream envelope with a flourish. I was. The invitation was genuine. I recognized the heavy cardstock, the calligraphy, the wax seal we'd commissioned from a boutique stationer in Brooklyn. My hands trembled slightly as I took it from her, turning it over to read the address. Ms. Vanessa Hartwell. +1, sent to Marcus's home address. The address he'd been living at for 5 years since the divorce was finalized. "This is impossible," I breathed. "We vetted every single invitation. Marcus and I went through the list together 3 times. "Did you?" Vanessa tilted her head, studying me with something that looked almost like pity. "Or did Marcus go through it and tell you he'd vetted it?" Before I could respond, footsteps echoed down the corridor. Marcus appeared, slightly out of breath, his bow tie askew. Behind him trailed my maid of honor, Jennifer, looking concerned, and Marcus's best man, his brother Patrick. Marcus froze when he saw Vanessa. For a fraction of a second, something flickered across his face. Not surprise. Something else. Something that made my chest tighten. "Vanessa." His voice was carefully controlled. "Aye. What are you doing here?" "Attending your wedding, obviously." She gestured to her dress. "I wouldn't miss it for the world." "After all, you did invite me?" "I didn't—" Marcus started, then stopped, his eyes darting to me, then back to Vanessa. "This is inappropriate. You need to leave, is it?" Vanessa pulled out her phone, tapping the screen a few times before turning it toward Marcus. "Because according to the RSVP I submitted 3 weeks ago, I'm expected. And you confirmed it, see? Right here." I moved closer to look at the screen. There it was, an email exchange, Marcus's email address, confirming Vanessa's attendance, asking if she had any dietary restrictions, mentioning that he was glad she could make it, that it would mean a lot. "That's not my email," Marcus said. But his voice lacked conviction. "It's the email address on your law firm's website," Vanessa replied pleasantly. "The one you use for professional correspondence. The one I've been emailing for years about the investment properties we still co-own. Should I forward you our entire correspondence? I have at least 40 messages from this address in the past month alone." Jennifer touched my arm gently. "Claire, maybe we should— How did you get my dress?" I interrupted, my voice rising. That dress was in my apartment, in a sealed preservation box, in my closet. Vanessa's expression shifted, the pleasant mask slipping just enough to reveal something sharper underneath. "Was it? Are you absolutely certain about that?" The implication hung in the air like smoke. She was suggesting someone had given her access. Someone who had been in my apartment. Someone who knew where I kept my things. I turned to Marcus slowly. "Did you give her keys to my apartment?" "What? No. Claire, I swear, I have no idea what's going on here." He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "This is insane. She's clearly trying to sabotage our wedding. She's been unstable since the divorce." "Unstable," Vanessa repeated and laughed. It was a bright, genuine sound that echoed off the corridor walls. "That's rich coming from you, Marcus. Tell me, have you told Claire about the settlement yet? Or were you planning to spring that on her after the honeymoon?" My blood ran cold. "What settlement?" Marcus's face had gone pale. "Vanessa, don't... The one where Marcus agreed to pay me $75,000 a month in spousal support for the next 8 years," Vanessa continued, her voice cheerful. "Backdated to the divorce finalization, which means he currently owes me about $600,000 in accumulated payments he somehow neglected to make. But I'm sure that's just an oversight. Marcus is very good at oversights." The corridor spun slightly. I steadied myself against the wall, my silk dress suddenly feeling too tight, too constricting. $75,000 a month? "It's complicated," Marcus said quickly. "The settlement was based on income I don't have anymore. I was supposed to renegotiate it, but you were too busy planning a wedding to a woman who has no idea she's about to inherit $500,000 in your debt." Vanessa checked her phone casually. "Though technically, depending on your state's marital property laws, it might be her debt too now. You did get married today, after all. Congratulations on that, by the way. The ceremony was lovely. I especially enjoyed the vows about honesty and transparency." "You were at the ceremony?" The question came out as a whisper. "I've been here since 4 o'clock, Vanessa said. I sat in the back, near the decorative ferns. No one noticed me because I was wearing navy blue then. Very tasteful. Very forgettable. I only put on this," she gestured to the dress, "after the ceremony concluded. I wanted to make an entrance at the reception." Clearly I succeeded. Jennifer's hand tightened on my arm. "Claire, let's go somewhere private to talk about this." "Talk about what?" I couldn't look away from Marcus. "Talk about how my husband owes his ex-wife $600,000? Or talk about how she was at our wedding ceremony in disguise? Or maybe talk about how she somehow acquired a dress that was locked in my apartment?" "All excellent topics," Vanessa said. "Though if we're choosing, I'd start with the dress. That's really the most interesting part of this whole situation." David, the venue manager, appeared at the end of the corridor, looking harried. "Is everything all right? Several guests are asking about the cake cutting." "Everything's perfect," Vanessa said before anyone else could respond. "Just a small family matter. You know how weddings are. So much emotion." I finally found my voice. "Security, please escort Ms. Hartwell from the premises." "Mrs. Hartwell," Vanessa corrected. "And I'm afraid I can't leave just yet. I have a gift to deliver." She reached into her clutch again and pulled out a thumb drive. "Wedding present. I think you'll find it very enlightening." "I don't want anything from you," I said. "Not even the security footage from your apartment building." Vanessa held up the small device. "The footage showing who accessed your apartment last Thursday afternoon while you were at your dress fitting? The fitting where you told Marcus you'd be for at least 3 hours?" The world tilted again. Last Thursday, I'd been at the atelier for my final fitting. Marcus had said he was meeting with clients. He'd texted me updates throughout the afternoon. I'd gotten home to find everything exactly as I'd left it, except my rejected wedding dress, still in its preservation box, still in my closet. I'd checked it that night, planning to finalize the donation paperwork. Everything had seemed fine. "You're lying," Marcus said, but his voice was weak. "Am I?" Vanessa tossed the thumb drive to me. I caught it reflexively. "Watch it. Or don't. But either way, you should know that I'm not the villain in this story, Claire. I'm just the ex-wife who got tired of being painted as the crazy one while your husband played innocent." She turned to leave, her cathedral train sweeping dramatically across the floor. Then she paused, looking back over her shoulder. "Oh, and Claire? You should check your joint bank account. The one you opened together last month for the honeymoon expenses. I think you'll find it rather more depleted than you expected. But I'm sure Marcus can explain that too. He's very good at explanations." With that, she walked away, her heels clicking against the marble until the sound faded into nothing. The silence that followed was suffocating. I stared at the thumb drive in my hand, then at Marcus. My husband of approximately 4 hours. The man who'd promised me forever just this afternoon. "Claire," he began. "Don't." I held up my hand. "Don't say anything right now." Jennifer appeared at my side. My laptop is in the bridal suite. If you want to see what's on that drive. I nodded slowly, my mind moving through options, consequences, realities. Behind us, I could hear the faint sounds of the reception continuing. Music, laughter, the clinking of glasses. 200 people celebrating a marriage that was already crumbling before the cake had been cut. The guests, Patrick started. Can wait. I finished. I looked at Marcus one more time. The bridal suite. Now, you, me, and Jennifer. And I want the truth about everything. The settlement, the debt, the apartment, the bank account. All of it. Marcus's face was ashen. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is, I said quietly. Because right now, I think I just married a stranger. We walked back through the corridor in silence. Jennifer on one side, Marcus on the other, the thumb drive burning in my hand like evidence at a crime scene. Above us, the reception continued, oblivious. Our DJ started playing The Way You Look Tonight, the song we'd chosen for our first dance. We'd missed that too. The bridal suite was tucked away on the third floor of the venue, a luxurious space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson River. My bouquet sat on a table, wilting slightly. My going-away outfit hung on the door, ready for our departure to the airport at midnight. Our honeymoon tickets to the Maldives were in Marcus's jacket pocket. Everything had been planned with meticulous precision, everything except this. Jennifer pulled out her laptop while I stood at the window, trying to slow my breathing. Marcus hovered near the door, looking like he wanted to bolt. Before we watch this, he said, I need you to understand something. Vanessa is manipulative. She's been trying to destroy my life since the divorce. This is exactly the kind of stunt she would pull. A stunt that involves her wearing my dress, I said without turning around. My dress that was in my locked apartment. Start with that, Marcus. How did she get it? I don't know. Wrong answer. I turned to face him. Try again. Jennifer had the laptop open, the thumb drive inserted. It's a video file. Date stamped last Thursday, 2:15 p.m., the same afternoon as my final fitting. The afternoon Marcus had alibied himself with client meetings. Play it, I said. The screen flickered to life, showing the hallway outside my apartment building. The angle suggested it was from the building's security camera, but the footage was too clear, too focused. Someone had enhanced it. We watched in silence as the timestamp rolled forward. 2:17 p.m., 2:18 p.m., then at 2:21 p.m., a figure appeared. Marcus. He walked down the hallway with the easy confidence of someone who belonged there, carrying what looked like a garment bag. He stopped at my door, pulled out keys, and let himself in. The video jumped forward, the timestamp now reading 2:47 p.m. Marcus emerged, empty-handed. He locked the door behind him and walked away. That doesn't prove anything, Marcus said quickly. I went to your apartment to drop something off. So what? What did you drop off? I asked. He hesitated. I don't remember. It was days ago. You went into my apartment with a garment bag and came out without it, Jennifer said, her voice cold. What was in the bag, Marcus? Stop lying. The words burst out of me. Just stop lying. You took my dress, didn't you? You took it and you gave it to Vanessa. Why? Why would you do that? Marcus's shoulders slumped. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? I could barely breathe. She was blackmailing me, he said finally. About the settlement. She threatened to expose everything right before the wedding if I didn't help her. She wanted to humiliate you, to get revenge on me through you. She said if I gave her the dress, let her come to the reception, she'd give me 6 months to get the money together. So you chose her over me. The words felt like glass in my throat. I chose us. Marcus moved toward me, but I stepped back. Claire, if she'd exposed the debt before the wedding, you would have called it off. I know you. You would have seen it as me lying to you, keeping secrets. I couldn't lose you. So I made a deal. A deal that involved stealing from me and helping her crash our wedding. I was going to tell you, he said desperately, after the honeymoon. I was going to explain everything. And I was going to pay her back. I have a plan. A plan that involves my money, I said slowly. That's why you wanted the joint bank account, isn't it? That's why you've been so interested in my consulting contracts lately, asking about my rates, my clients. You were calculating how much you could access. His silence was answer enough. Jennifer closed the laptop with a sharp snap. Claire, I think you should call a lawyer. Wait, Marcus said. Please just wait. Yes, I made mistakes. Yes, I lied. But I love you. I married you today because I love you. We can fix this. Fix what? I felt strangely calm now, the initial shock giving way to a cold clarity. Fix the fact that you've been lying since the moment we met? That you owe your ex-wife $600,000? That you stole from me? That you helped her humiliate me at my own wedding? Our wedding, he corrected weakly. No. I pulled off my wedding ring, the simple platinum band we'd exchanged 4 hours ago. This was supposed to be our wedding. What this actually was a very elaborate fraud. I placed the ring on the table next to my wilting bouquet. My hand felt lighter immediately. Claire, don't do this, Marcus pleaded. Don't throw away our marriage over Vanessa's mind games. I'm not throwing it away over Vanessa's mind games, I said quietly. I'm ending it because of yours. The mind games you've been playing with me for months. The lies, the manipulation, the theft. One mistake. Mistakes, I corrected, plural. And these aren't mistakes, Marcus. Mistakes are accidental. This was calculated. You calculated that my love for you was worth exploiting. You were wrong. Jennifer was already on her phone. I'm calling my lawyer. She handles divorces. She can meet with you tomorrow morning. We just got married, Marcus said, his voice breaking. You can't get divorced after 4 hours. Watch me. I picked up my going-away outfit, a simple dress I'd planned to change into before we left for the airport. I'm going to change. Then I'm going to go back down to the reception, and I'm going to thank everyone for coming, and I'm going to tell them there's been a change of plans. You can either be there with me, presenting a united front of mature adults who've mutually decided this was a mistake, or you can hide up here while I tell them the truth. You wouldn't, he breathed. Try me. I walked toward the bathroom, then paused. Actually, no. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to start by reviewing every financial document you've ever shown me. Every statement, every contract, every piece of paper I signed, trusting you. Then I'm going to check that joint bank account Vanessa mentioned. Then I'm going to call my lawyer and we're going to figure out exactly how much damage you've done and how to undo it. Claire? And then, I continued as if he hadn't spoken, I'm going to find Vanessa and thank her. Because whatever her motives were, she saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life, which was believing that you loved me more than you loved yourself. I closed the bathroom door between us, leaned against it, and finally let myself feel the full weight of what had just happened. My wedding day, the day I'd planned for months, the day that was supposed to be the beginning of forever. Instead, it was the end of everything. Through the door, I could hear Jennifer's voice, firm and protective. You should leave, Marcus, now, before this gets worse. How could it possibly get worse? You really want to find out? Jennifer's voice was steel. Because I'm about 30 seconds away from going downstairs and telling every single guest what you did. Including your partners from the law firm. Including Claire's parents. Including that senior partner who toasted you during dinner, the one you've been trying to impress for months. Silence. Then footsteps. The door to the bridal suite opened and closed. I changed out of my wedding dress mechanically, hanging it carefully despite everything. Some habits die hard. The simple blue dress I'd chosen for traveling felt wrong against my skin. I'd imagined wearing it while Marcus and I rushed to the airport, giddy and married, ready for 10 days in paradise. Instead, I was wearing it to face 200 guests and tell them my marriage had lasted exactly 4 hours. When I emerged from the bathroom, Jennifer was waiting. She'd pulled up something on her laptop, her face grim. You need to see this, she said. If it's worse than what I've already seen, it's the bank account, the joint one. She turned the laptop toward me. The account we'd opened with $20,000 each, meant for honeymoon expenses and initial household costs, now showed a balance of $743. $40,000 gone. When? I whispered. The transfers started 3 days ago. Small amounts at first. A few thousand here and there. Then yesterday, while we were at the rehearsal dinner, he moved 15,000. And this morning, before the ceremony, another 12,000. This morning, while I was getting my hair done, sending him texts with heart emojis, believing in the fairy tale. Where did it go? Jennifer clicked through the transaction history. An account in Vanessa's name. Every single transfer. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. He was trying to pay her. To buy her silence. That's why he needed access to my money. His own accounts were probably already drained. There's more. Jennifer's voice was gentle. I did some digging while you were in the bathroom. Marcus's law firm? They put him on probation 6 months ago. Something about questionable billing practices. He's not bringing in the revenue he claimed. The client meetings he's always rushing off to? Most of them don't exist. 6 months ago. Right around the time he'd proposed to me. Right around the time he'd started asking about my consulting business, my clients, my income. He needed me, I said slowly. Not loved me, needed me. To solve his financial problems. I'm sorry. Jennifer put her hand on my shoulder. I should have seen it sooner. The way he was always interested in your contracts, your rates. I thought he was just being supportive. So did I. I closed the laptop. But we were both wrong. A knock on the door made us both jump. Jennifer moved to answer it, protective, but I stopped her. It's fine. I need to face this eventually. But it wasn't Marcus. Instead, Vanessa stood in the doorway, having changed out of my dress into a simple black cocktail dress. She looked almost apologetic. May I come in? She asked quietly. Jennifer looked at me. I nodded. Vanessa entered, closing the door behind her. Without the dramatic dress, without the performance of the confrontation, she seemed different. Smaller. Tired. I owe you an explanation, she said. You owe me a lot more than that, I replied. But I'll settle for the truth. She sat down on the couch, uninvited, and for a moment just looked at me. How much has he told you? About our marriage, about the divorce? He said it was amicable, that you'd grown apart, that you'd both moved on. Vanessa laughed bitterly. Of course he did. Did he mention the affairs? Plural? Or the fact that he drained our joint accounts before filing for divorce? Or how he tried to claim I'd been unfaithful to avoid the spousal support? No, I said quietly. He left that out. Marcus is very good at presenting himself as the victim, Vanessa continued. He's charming. He's successful. He's attentive when he needs to be. But underneath all that, he's a user. He sees people as resources. I didn't realize it until too late, until I'd already wasted 12 years of my life. So you decided to save me from the same fate, I said. How noble. By crashing my wedding in my dress. I know how it looks, Vanessa said. And yes, part of me wanted revenge. After what he put me through, watching him remarry, pretend to be this changed man while still owing me hundreds of thousands of dollars. She broke off. But mostly, I wanted you to see who he really was before it was too late. It is too late, I said. I'm already married to him. Are you, though? Vanessa leaned forward. You've been married for what, 4 hours? In most states, that's barely past the point of annulment. Especially if you can prove fraud, which, considering everything, should be fairly simple. Why do you care? I asked. Why help me at all? Because I was you once, Vanessa said simply. Young, successful, in love with a man who seemed perfect. And no one warned me. No one showed me the truth until I was trapped. I don't want that for anyone else, even a stranger. Even your ex-husband's new wife. Especially her, Vanessa corrected. Because I know exactly what he's capable of. Jennifer, who'd been silent throughout this exchange, spoke up. The security footage. From Claire's apartment building. How did you get it? Vanessa had the grace to look slightly shued. I may have hired a private investigator. Once Marcus stopped making support payments, I needed to build a case. My investigator has been monitoring him for 3 months. When he realized Marcus was getting remarried, he suggested we might find something useful. That's illegal, Jennifer said. Probably, Vanessa agreed. but it's also effective. And before you ask, yes, I have more footage. Hours of it. Of Marcus meeting with women who aren't his wife. Of him taking clients to expensive restaurants and billing it to the firm even though the clients don't exist. Of him accessing your apartment multiple times when you weren't there. My skin crawled. Multiple times? He's been copying your files, Vanessa said. Client lists, contracts, financial records. Everything he'd need to either steal your business or use it as collateral for loans. My investigator documented it all. And you waited until today to tell me, I said. Until my wedding day. Until the most public, humiliating moment possible. Vanessa met my eyes steadily. Would you have believed me yesterday? Last week? A month ago? Or would you have dismissed me as the bitter ex-wife trying to sabotage her ex-husband's happiness? She was right, and I hated that she was right. If she'd approached me before today, I would have told Marcus. He would have spun it, explained it away, made me doubt her. Today, with the evidence undeniable, with the confrontation public, I couldn't ignore it. I need all of it, I said finally. Every piece of evidence your investigator collected. Every recording, every photo, every document. I have it all on a secure server, Vanessa said. I'll send you the access codes. Why? I asked. Why give me everything? You could use this against him yourself. For the settlement, for leverage. I will, Vanessa said. But you can too. The more pressure from both sides, the faster he'll crumble. And honestly, after 12 years of being the villain in his story, I'm tired. I want this finished. She stood, smoothing her dress. I should go. I've caused enough chaos for one evening. Wait, I said. The dress. My rejected wedding dress. Why did you really want it? Vanessa smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. Because when Marcus showed it to me, when he asked me to help him return it to your closet after borrowing it for measurements for a surprise gift, he was so proud of himself. So convinced he was being clever, I wanted him to know that his clever plan had backfired, that his grand manipulation had been manipulated. He told you it was for a surprise gift? He's told me a lot of things, Vanessa said. Very few of them true, but yes, that was his story. I played along because I wanted to see how far he'd go. Turns out pretty far. She walked to the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Claire, I am sorry your wedding day ended like this. You deserve better, but better was never going to include Marcus. After she left, Jennifer and I sat in silence for a long moment. What do you want to do? Jennifer finally asked. I thought about the 200 guests downstairs, about my parents who'd flown in from California, about Marcus's family who'd welcomed me so warmly, about the future I'd imagined just this morning. Then I thought about the bank account, drained, the apartment violated, the lies, so many lies, the woman I'd married who wasn't real, who'd never been real. I want to go downstairs, I said. I want to address our guests, and then I want to start my life over. Just like that? Jennifer asked. Just like that. We stood, and I took one last look at my wedding dress hanging on the door. Tomorrow I'd deal with annulment papers and lawyers. Tomorrow I'd review all the evidence and build my case. Tomorrow I'd figure out how to untangle my life from Marcus's. But tonight, I had a reception full of people who'd come to celebrate my happiness. The least I could do was thank them for trying. As we walked toward the door, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Security footage access codes, everything my investigator collected. Use it wisely. Also, the cake downstairs is excellent. I had a slice before I left. Chocolate raspberry. Good choice. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Then Jennifer and I walked out of the bridal suite and toward whatever came next. The reception hall was still full when we arrived, though the mood had shifted. Guests milled around in small clusters, their celebration tinged with confusion. They knew something was wrong. They just didn't know what. The DJ had switched to ambient music, clearly unsure of protocol for a wedding reception missing its couple. I scanned the room, looking for Marcus. He was nowhere to be seen. My parents found me first. My mother's face was pale, my father's set in grim lines. Claire, darling, my mother began. What's happening? People are saying, I know, I interrupted gently. I'm about to address everyone. But I wanted you to hear it from me first. Marcus and I won't be staying married. My father's jaw tightened. What did he do? A lot, I said. But the short version is he lied. About his finances, about his ex-wife, about who he was, and I'm not going to start my marriage based on lies. My mother's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Good. I never liked him. Mom, you literally cried during the ceremony. I was crying for you, not for him, she said fiercely. My baby girl, so happy, so hopeful. I was crying because I wanted you to have everything you deserved. And that man was never it. My father pulled me into a hug. Whatever you need. Legal help, financial help, a place to stay. Whatever you need. Right now, I need to get through the next 10 minutes, I said. Then we'll figure out the rest. I walked to the DJ booth, Jennifer close behind. The young man manning the equipment looked relieved to see me. Can you get everyone's attention? I asked quietly. He nodded, cutting the music and speaking into the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. The bride would like to say a few words. The room fell silent. 200 faces turned toward me, curiosity and concern written across them. I took the microphone, my hand surprisingly steady. Thank you all for being here tonight, I began. Marcus and I are so grateful. I stopped, correcting myself. I am so grateful that you came to celebrate with us. Many of you traveled long distances, took time away from your families, brought generous gifts. Your presence meant everything. I paused, gathering my courage. However, I need to tell you that there won't be a marriage to celebrate. Marcus and I have decided, after some difficult revelations this evening, that we made a mistake. We won't be continuing as husband and wife. The silence was absolute. Then came the whispers, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. I know this isn't what anyone expected, I continued, least of all me. But sometimes the truth reveals itself at the worst possible moment, and when it does, you have to listen. I'm listening, and what I'm hearing is that I deserve better than what I was offered today. I saw Marcus's mother in the crowd, her face stricken, his brother Patrick looking confused. My bridesmaids, clustered together, their expressions ranging from shock to understanding. Please, enjoy the rest of the evening, I said. The venue is paid for, the food is here, the bar is open. Consider it a party celebrating honesty, self-respect, and new beginnings. Thank you for understanding. I handed the microphone back to the DJ and stepped down. The room erupted in noise, but I was already moving toward the exit, Jennifer clearing a path through the crowd. We made it to the lobby before Marcus intercepted us. He looked disheveled, desperate. You didn't have to do that, he said. You could have waited, told people privately. Why? I stopped, facing him. So you could control the narrative? Spin it your way? No, I'm done with your version of events. This is mine. Claire, please. Can we just talk? Alone? We're past talking, I said. We're at the point where lawyers talk. Jennifer's lawyer is going to contact you tomorrow with the annulment paperwork. I suggest you get your own attorney. An annulment, he repeated numbly. You're really doing this. I really am. I pulled out my phone, opening my banking app. And while we're being honest, I'm closing our joint account. What's left of it anyway? His face went white. You can't do that. Actually, I can. It's a joint account. I'm a joint owner. I'm withdrawing my remaining funds and closing my access. I tapped through the screens as I spoke. There, done. If you want to contest it, have your lawyer call mine. Marcus grabbed my arm. Claire, you're making a huge mistake. Jennifer stepped between us immediately. Let go of her, now. He released me, stepping back. I'm sorry. I love you. I know I messed up, but I love you. You don't know what love is, I said quietly. Love isn't using someone. Love isn't lying to them. Love isn't stealing from them. What you did wasn't love, Marcus. It was fraud. I was going to tell you everything, he insisted. After the honeymoon, I had a whole plan. A plan that involved spending 10 days in the Maldives on my money while you figured out how to keep manipulating me. I shook my head. I'm not interested in your plans anymore. I'm only interested in undoing the damage you've done. What about the gifts? He asked suddenly. What about the registry? What about them? People brought gifts. Expensive gifts? We can't just... I'll return everything, I said, with a note explaining that the marriage didn't work out, and we're grateful for their generosity, but can't accept their gifts under false pretenses. Unlike some people, I believe in honesty. His face flushed. You're really going to paint me as the villain here. I'm not painting you as anything, I replied. I'm just going to tell the truth. If that makes you look like a villain, that's not my problem. That's yours. I turned to leave, then remembered something. Oh, and Marcus. The apartment. My apartment that you had keys to. I'm changing the locks tonight. If you left anything there, you have 24 hours to make arrangements to collect it. After that, it's going to the curb. This is insane, he said. Over one mistake. You're throwing away our entire relationship over one mistake. It wasn't one mistake, I said, finally losing my patience. It was a series of calculated choices. You chose to lie about your finances. You chose to give Vanessa access to my things. You chose to drain our joint account. You chose to steal my client files. You chose all of it, Marcus. Those weren't mistakes. They were decisions. And now I'm making mine. I walked away, Jennifer beside me, leaving Marcus standing alone in the lobby of our wedding venue. Outside, the October air was crisp and cold. I breathed it in deeply, feeling like I was tasting freedom for the first time in hours. My phone was already buzzing with texts from concerned guests, but I ignored them all. Where to? Jennifer asked, flagging down a taxi. Your place? I said. If that's okay. I can't go back to my apartment tonight. Not until the locks are changed. Of course. She gave the driver her address, then turned to me. You did the right thing in there. Did I? I leaned my head back against the seat. Or did I just blow up my life in front of 200 people? Your life was already blown up, Jennifer said gently. You just made it official. And honestly, you were amazing. Calm, direct, honest. You didn't cry, you didn't yell, you just told the truth. I'll probably cry later, I admitted, once the adrenaline wears off. That's allowed, Jennifer said. Actually, it's recommended. But for now, you should be proud of yourself. Not many people would have had the courage to walk away that fast. My phone rang. Vanessa's number, I answered, putting it on speaker so Jennifer could hear. That was quite a speech, Vanessa said without preamble. I watched from the parking lot. Very dignified. Were you still here? I asked. I wanted to make sure you were okay, Vanessa said, and I wanted to make sure Marcus didn't try anything stupid. He has a temper when things don't go his way. He grabbed my arm, I said, but Jennifer intervened. File a police report, Vanessa said immediately. Even if you don't press charges, have it documented. Trust me, it'll matter later. Later? When he realizes he's really lost everything, Vanessa said. When the annulment goes through and his law firm finds out what happened. When his family cuts him off because they're embarrassed. He'll lash out. Men like Marcus always do. You sound like you're speaking from experience, I said. I am. Vanessa's voice was quiet. After our divorce was finalized, he slashed my tires, keyed my car, sent me threatening emails from anonymous accounts. I documented everything, got a restraining order. He violated it twice before his family finally convinced him to stop. My blood ran cold. He did all that? He's very good at playing the victim, Vanessa said. Right up until he loses. Then you see who he really is. I thought about the man I'd married this afternoon. Charming, successful, attentive. The man who'd sent me flowers every week for 6 months. Who'd planned elaborate date nights. Who'd told me I was the love of his life. That man wasn't real. He'd never been real. I need to get a restraining order, I said. I'll email you the name of my attorney, Vanessa said. She specializes in these cases. She's expensive, but she's worth it. Thank you, I said. For everything. For showing me the truth, even if the method was dramatic. Sometimes drama is necessary, Vanessa said. Sometimes people don't believe the truth unless it's spectacular enough to break through their denial. You would have forgiven him, Claire. If I'd told you privately, if I'd shown you the evidence quietly, he would have talked his way out of it. You would have given him another chance. I couldn't let that happen. She was right. I knew she was right. If this had all come out privately, Marcus would have cried, apologized, promised to change. And I probably would have believed him. I owe you one, I said. You don't owe me anything, Vanessa replied. Just promise me you'll protect yourself. Document everything. Keep records. Don't let him manipulate you into giving him another chance. I won't, I said. That part of my life is over. Good. Vanessa paused. And Claire? For what it's worth, I think you're going to be fine. Better than fine. You're smart, successful, and brave enough to walk away when it matters. That's more than I can say for myself at your age. She hung up before I could respond. The taxi pulled up to Jennifer's building, a modest brownstone in Park Slope. We climbed the stairs to her third-floor apartment, where her boyfriend David was waiting with worried eyes and open arms. I heard, he said simply. I'm so sorry. Don't be, I said, surprising myself. I'm not. And I realized, standing in Jennifer's living room still wearing my going-away dress, that it was true. I wasn't sorry. I was angry, hurt, betrayed. But I wasn't sorry I'd found out. I wasn't sorry I'd walked away. I was only sorry I'd almost married someone who saw me as a resource instead of a person. David disappeared into the kitchen, returning with 3 glasses of wine. I figured you might need this. We sat on Jennifer's couch and finally the tears came. Not dramatic sobs, just quiet tears sliding down my face while Jennifer held one hand and David tactfully pretended not to notice. What do I do now? I asked eventually. I had a whole life planned. Honeymoon, combined households, future plans. What do I do with all of that? You grieve it, Jennifer said gently. You grieve the life you thought you were going to have. And then you build a new one, a better one. One that's actually real. My phone buzzed. A message from my mother. Your father and I are heading back to the hotel. We'll see you tomorrow for brunch. We love you. You did the right thing. P.S. I kept a piece of the wedding cake for you. It was delicious. Despite everything, I smiled. Leave it to my mother to worry about cake at a time like this. I need to make a list, I said, pulling out my phone. A list of everything that needs to be done. Annulment papers, restraining order, locks changed, client files secured, bank accounts separated, credit cards canceled, wedding gifts returned. Tomorrow, Jennifer interrupted. Make the list tomorrow. Tonight, you just survived your wedding day. That's enough. But I was already typing, my mind shifting into problem-solving mode. It was easier to focus on logistics than emotions. Easier to plan than to feel. The list grew longer. Contact the honeymoon resort and cancel. Contact the apartment building about changing locks. Schedule a meeting with my own lawyer, not just Jennifer's. Go through every document Marcus had ever touched. Check my credit report. Secure my business files. Change all my passwords. Claire, David said gently. Jennifer's right. This can wait until tomorrow. Can it, though? I looked up at them. Can it really wait? What if Marcus tries to access my accounts tonight? What if he does something to my apartment? What if you drive yourself crazy with what ifs? Jennifer finished. Look, we can change your critical passwords right now if it makes you feel better. Banking, email, anything business-related. But the rest can wait 12 hours. She was right. I knew she was right. But the list made me feel in control, and control was the only thing holding me together. We spent the next hour changing passwords, enabling 2-factor authentication, and securing my most important accounts. With each completed task, I felt slightly more grounded, slightly more certain that I would survive this. By midnight, I was exhausted. Jennifer set me up in her guest room, lending me pajamas and a toothbrush. I should have been in the Maldives right now, I thought. I should have been starting my honeymoon. Deliriously happy, blissfully unaware. Instead, I was in my best friend's guest room, wearing borrowed pajamas, planning my escape from a marriage that had lasted exactly 4 hours and 23 minutes. My phone buzzed one last time before I turned it off. An email from Vanessa with subject line, "Everything you need." Inside were access codes to her investigator's server, the contact information for 3 lawyers, and a final message. Remember, Claire, the best revenge isn't getting even. It's building a life so good that your ex becomes irrelevant. I'm still working on that part myself, but I believe you'll get there faster than I did. Sleep well? Tomorrow you start rebuilding. I set the phone aside and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow I would deal with lawyers and locks and all the practical matters of untangling my life from Marcus's. Tomorrow, I would review evidence and build my case and figure out exactly how much damage he'd done. But tonight, I would let myself feel the full weight of what had happened. Tonight, I would acknowledge that I'd been betrayed by someone I'd trusted completely. Tonight, I would mourn the future I'd lost, and then tomorrow, I would start fighting back. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in hours, felt something like peace. Not happiness, not relief. Just the quiet certainty that I'd made the right choice. I'd chosen myself over him. I'd chosen truth over comfortable lies. I'd chosen a difficult reality over a beautiful fantasy. And that choice, painful as it was, felt like the first honest thing I'd done in months. Sleep came eventually, dreamless and deep. When I woke, it would be to the first day of my new life. A life without Marcus. A life built on truth instead of lies. I was ready for it. Morning arrived with Jennifer knocking softly on the guest room door, carrying coffee and a folder. Your lawyer called. She can see you at 10. I sat up, my wedding day already feeling like something that had happened to someone else. That was fast. I told her it was urgent. Jennifer set the coffee on the nightstand. Also, Vanessa's investigator sent over the full evidence package. You need to see this before the meeting. The folder was thick, organized with tabs and timestamps. I flipped through it methodically, my coffee growing cold as I absorbed the scope of Marcus's deception. Bank transfers dating back 8 months, screenshots of him accessing my client database, photos of him meeting with a business rival, my confidential proposals visible on his laptop screen. Email chains discussing how to leverage Claire's contacts for his own gain. He was planning this from the beginning, I said quietly. Before he even proposed, Jennifer nodded. The investigator's timeline suggests Marcus targeted you specifically. Your consulting firm was growing, you had connections he needed, and you were emotionally available after your previous relationship ended. I thought about how we'd met. At a networking event where I'd been a featured speaker, he'd approached me afterward, charming and interested, asking insightful questions about my business. I'd thought it was attraction. It had been reconnaissance. The lawyer's office was in Midtown, sleek and professional. Attorney Rachel Morrison was in her 50s, sharp-eyed and efficient. She reviewed my evidence without visible emotion, making notes on a legal pad. This is comprehensive, she said finally. The fraud is documented, the theft is clear, and the surveillance footage establishes a pattern of deception. We can file for annulment based on fraud, and I recommend pursuing criminal charges for the financial theft. How long will it take? I asked. With this level of documentation, the annulment should be straightforward. 30 to 60 days. The criminal case will take longer, but that's the prosecutor's timeline, not yours. She looked up from her notes. There's also the matter of his debt to his ex-wife. That's not your responsibility, but he may try to claim marital assets to pay it. We were married for 4 hours, I said. What marital assets? Exactly. Which is why we file immediately, before he can try to establish any claims. Rachel pulled out a stack of forms. I'll need you to sign these today. By tomorrow morning, he'll be served with annulment papers and a restraining order. I'm also recommending we notify his law firm about the fraudulent billing practices. They'll likely terminate him, which protects you from any future claims that his employment issues resulted from the marriage ending. I signed everything, my hand steady. Each signature felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. By afternoon, I was back at my apartment with a locksmith, watching him install new deadbolts and change every lock. Marcus had left 3 frantic voicemails and a dozen texts, all variations of, "We need to talk." I blocked his number and saved the messages for evidence. The apartment felt different now, violated. I walked through each room, checking for anything missing or disturbed. In my office, I found my file cabinet had been accessed recently. Several client folders were slightly out of order, the way they would be if someone had photographed them and replaced them hastily. I called my IT consultant, a former colleague who specialized in cybersecurity. I need you to check every device I own for spyware, keyloggers, anything that could be monitoring me. He arrived within the hour, running diagnostic software on my laptop, phone, and tablet. Your laptop has a keystroke logger, he said grimly. Installed about 6 months ago. It's been recording everything you type, including passwords, and sending reports to an external email. Marcus's email. Can you trace what he accessed? I asked. Everything. Client communications, financial records, business proposals, personal emails. Everything you've typed on this computer for 6 months. He removed the software efficiently. I'm also seeing unauthorized access to your cloud storage. He's been downloading files regularly. The violation went deeper than I'd imagined. He hadn't just stolen from me. He'd surveilled me, cataloged me, treated my entire life as data to be mined. I want a full forensic report, I said. Everything he accessed, every file he copied, every keystroke he monitored. Can you do that? Absolutely. This is going to strengthen your case significantly. Unauthorized access to computer systems is a federal crime. By evening, I had 3 separate legal cases building against Marcus. Annulment based on fraud, civil theft charges for the financial losses, and now potential federal charges for computer crimes. Rachel called with an update. His law firm just placed him on administrative leave, she said. They're conducting their own investigation into the billing irregularities. And Claire? Vanessa's attorney contacted me. She's willing to coordinate her case with yours. The combined pressure is already having an effect. Marcus's attorney called asking about settlement discussions. What did you say? That we'll consider settlement after all evidence is reviewed and charges are filed. He's panicking, Claire. He thought he could talk his way out of this, but the documentation is airtight. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the months I'd spent with Marcus, believing his performance. The intimate moments that had felt real but were just part of his calculation. The future we'd planned that had been built entirely on lies. My phone buzzed at 2 a.m., a text from an unknown number. I know you blocked me. I just want to explain, please, I did love you. I just made mistakes. We can fix this. I screenshot the message, sent it to Rachel, and blocked the new number. There would be more attempts, more manipulation, more desperate tries to regain control. But each one just added to the evidence trail. 3 weeks later, I sat in Rachel's office reviewing settlement proposals. Marcus, facing criminal charges and disbarment proceedings, was offering to return everything he'd taken plus damages, in exchange for me dropping the criminal charges. He's also agreed to surrender any claims to marital assets, waive any potential alimony, and accept full responsibility for his debt to Vanessa, Rachel said. It's a complete surrender. What about the computer crimes? I asked. The federal prosecutor is willing to accept a plea deal with probation if restitution is made and he completes community service. He'll have a criminal record but no jail time. I thought about it carefully. Part of me wanted to push for maximum consequences, to see him face everything he'd done. But another part just wanted it finished, wanted him out of my life completely. I want one addition, I said. A statement. Signed, notarized, admitting everything he did. The fraud, the theft, the surveillance, everything. Not for the court. For the record. So if he ever tries to rewrite history, if he ever tries to paint himself as the victim, there's documented proof of the truth. Rachel smiled. I can make that happen. The statement arrived a week later. 4 pages of detailed admissions. Marcus had signed every page, acknowledging the systematic deception, the financial crimes, the violation of my privacy. It would never be made public unless he violated the agreement, but knowing it existed was enough. The annulment was finalized on a Tuesday morning, exactly 62 days after my wedding. I signed the final papers in Rachel's office, officially ending a marriage that had never really begun. How do you feel? Jennifer asked afterward. We were having lunch at a small cafe near my apartment. Free, I said, and angry, and relieved, and tired, I paused. Mostly tired. That's normal. You've been in crisis mode for 2 months. Now you can finally process everything. I'd started therapy the week after the wedding, working through the betrayal with a counselor who specialized in emotional abuse. Because that's what Marcus had done, she'd helped me understand. Emotional abuse, financial abuse, systematic manipulation designed to make me doubt my own judgment. Vanessa called yesterday, I said. Marcus finally paid her settlement. All of it plus interest. She wanted to thank me. Are you two friends now? Jennifer asked, amused. Not exactly. But we understand each other. She went through this hell for 12 years. I only went through it for 8 months. She saved me from wasting my life on someone who saw me as a resource. My consulting business had survived intact. I'd notified every client about the potential breach, offered to replace any compromised proposals, and strengthened my security protocols. Most clients appreciated the transparency. Several even increased their contracts, respecting how I'd handled the crisis. Marcus, meanwhile, had lost everything. His law firm terminated him after their investigation revealed years of billing fraud. Vanessa's settlement depleted his accounts. The restitution to me took the rest. His professional reputation was destroyed. The legal community was small and word traveled fast. I didn't feel sorry for him. I felt sorry for who I'd thought he was, the person I'd loved who had never existed. That person deserved mourning. The real Marcus deserved exactly what he got. 6 months after the wedding, I stood in my apartment, now truly mine with no traces of Marcus remaining. I'd redecorated, changed things, made it feel like a fresh start rather than a crime scene. My phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa. Saw Marcus at a coffee shop today. He's working retail, living with his mother. He looked like he wanted to talk. I kept walking. Thought you'd appreciate the update. Hope you're doing well, Vi smiled, typing back. Thanks for the intel. I'm doing great. Hope you are too, and I was. The betrayal had carved something out of me, left scars I was still learning to navigate. But it had also taught me about my own strength, my capacity to choose myself even when it was difficult, my ability to rebuild. I'd learned to trust my instincts again, slowly. To recognize red flags I'd ignored before, to value honesty over charm, substance over performance. Most importantly, I'd learned that the best revenge wasn't destroying Marcus. It was building a life so fulfilling, so authentic, so completely mine that his absence became irrelevant. The wedding dress, the real one I'd worn for 4 hours, was donated to a charity that provided gowns to brides who couldn't afford them. Someone else would wear it and have the happy ending I'd been denied. As for me, I didn't need a wedding dress or a marriage to validate my worth. I had something better, the truth, hard-won and painful, but mine, and that was enough. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.